The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by us are ours and do not reflect those of our employers, co-workers, family, or friends. While we have conversations about various topics, any mentions of drugs, sex, religion, politics, and the like that offends anyone should be considered satire and for entertainment purposes only. And yes, we can get a little toxic. So if you're easily triggered, have unresolved trauma, can't take a joke, or don't enjoy adult conversations, you've been warned. Listener discretion is advised. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome. Man, I got to tell y'all before I go into my spiel, how much I miss y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I want to welcome not only my peoples, but y'all out there for another off-season conversation. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. Y'all wasn't expecting. Yeah, that was like, he just gonna start it off and we just gonna chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, for real, I missed y'all. Well, hold on, before I ask y'all how y'all been, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, all that good shit. You know, show up. Show us some love. We really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, follow, share, comment, all that good shit. We got some great things to talk about. But before we get into all of that, I got all my people with me. Pam, 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 pam. Speaking of peoples, S&M. What's happening? I feel like we haven't talked in a while, like since maybe yesterday.
I know, like I was like, well, you know, we kind of did talk a little bit, you know, this week, and so, but I gotta admit, I'm a little exhausted, and I am planning out my vacations for the rest of the year because I realized I don't take vacations, and so I need to change that. So I will be planning on my vacations for the rest of the year, all the way through the summer. So we go to Hawaii in December.
Yes.
And then I think I'm going to go somewhere in March. Oh, yeah, Dallas. And then I believe I'll be heading on a cruise ship in June. But we'll see. I'm also hoping to go to Kenya this next summer. But that may be switched to another trip. But we'll see what happens.
Yes,
Yay,
I mean,
vacation me.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I feel like really S&M is getting around, but like in a global travel sense. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be clear. I mean, what are y'all doing? She's a married woman. You know what I'm saying? A pillar of our community. Y'all are bugging.
That's right.
Kill. What's good with you?
What's going on? Man, I've just been really busy, underwater busy, very busy. So not in like nothing bad, just lots and lots of busy, positive, Kovlux busy. But I'm tired. And I am like I don't know where you guys are, but well, I do. But we have a lot of change of season right now. So I'm like we like hibernate here. So I'm like ready to do a little bit of like get to the hibernation space. And my students are about to be in midterm, so they're stressed out.
Okay, so key takeaways is that Midwest tends hibernate.
Am I 10?
and you're keeping it moist. You said you were underwater. Never mind. AKA Black Deficit in the building. What's happening,
man? Man, it's good to be here. I don't know how I follow all of that you guys are doing. That's amazing. Life is good, man. We're slowing it down. Forced to slow it down. Just kind of waiting. Chinese New Year, so you know. Stuff like that. But it's all good, man. Excited to be here. Miss talking to you guys. Miss talking to the peoples. You know what I mean? My house is quieter now. It's a whole nother thing. I'll tell you about that on some other time. But life is getting good. So I'm ready to talk. I'm in a good spot. Good mood.
Yes. And even though nobody asked me, I'm doing great. You know, I want to thank my family. I mean, it's kind of the structure. So
my bad. I should have done it.
We assumed you were just going to chime in after we was done and be like, yo,
you're not really bashful.
Me, you know?
Who, me? Oh, you guys want to hear about me? Right. Oh, my God. No, listen, man, I'm doing amazing. Gratitude. That's the attitude to have. Well, before we continue with the show, we definitely want to give a word to all those people who are dealing with Hurricane Milton that was going on right now through Central Florida. It was hella scary. I was waking up to reports. It was like a hurricane category 6 or some shit like that. I'm like, wait, is there a category 6, right? But I do think that it did kind of turn back down a little bit before it hit the coast. So we just want to say a prayer or a shout out, a nod to all those people out there. Hopefully everybody's all right, has electricity, has access to food, et cetera, et cetera. It was definitely a little scary out there. So shout out to y'all. And also while we're on hurricanes, to all the people who still dealing with, was it Hurricane Helene, I believe, or Helen or Helene? Yeah, it caused a lot of devastation. I think in particular, some places in South Georgia and Asheville, for example, North Carolina. We send our prayers. I'm sure there are places that if you feel inclined that you can donate and help people, et cetera, et cetera. So with that being said, S&M, man, what we talk about, let's get to it, because this particular topic, we talked about it in the earlier part of the season. I feel like it was one of the few times that me and you was able to go 2 and 2, you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
You know, so I feel like I'm laced up. So you let me know what you want to do, okay? So what's up?
So it's actually interesting that we were, we talked about the hurricanes and whatnot. I would just say this. There was some scary aspects of Milton in regards to this is the first one that had like 38 tornadoes spun off it. You know what I'm saying? It was fucking up all type of shit, leaving devastation in his wake. And I kind of feel like that's what Common kind of do himself as a fuckboy. He actually leaves some devastation in his wake as well. We had clearly from our last episode that we talked about him, where Tiffany Haddish was throwing that light shade about Jennifer Hudson when he stated, if and when I get married, it will be to Jennifer Hudson. Well, guess what? If you didn't know, Jennifer Hudson brought him on the Jennifer Hudson show and did an interview where she asked him about his comments and his statement pertaining to her.
I heard you've been even out there talking about marriage, Karen. What's that about? I mean, I just happened to notice that.
I was asked about marriage.
Yes.
And I just answered honestly. I said, you know what? You told me a quote that your mother said, a man knows what he wants. And I was saying my true feelings about, listen, Jennifer is the person, if I should be married, it will be to Jennifer Kate Hudson. I was just being honest.
It was a cute interview, so if you didn't get a chance to watch it, please go and watch it. But I'm just interested in hearing your opinions because as far as I'm concerned, he just doubled down on being a fuckboy and doing fuckboy shit. But that's just my opinion. And I can explain a little bit more, but I'm going to pass it over to those defenders of Common who say, oh, he's such a good guy. He's a nice guy. Let's go ahead and pass it to the Kool-Aid smile of Dr. Jones over there.
Yeah, well, before y'all go, I just want y'all to know that was S&M stepping on the court for a Steph Curry 3 just now. The way she intro that, you better bring it, okay? S&M virtual fist bump, whichever side you are, girl. Yeah, go ahead, Kim. What you got for that? What you got?
I love Common, and I loved it, and I love the reciprocity of the conversation. I thought it was super cute, and as far as like the questions that people had, like what did he mean? They laid it right out, and then he did another interview. So just as a follow up, he did another interview with someone else and described kind of what he was saying, and he was like, definitely Jennifer. So I think we're going to see a wedding. I don't know. I feel like we're actually going to see a wedding between them. I don't think he's a fuckboy. I have actual hope for Common. I think this is going to be a thing. I think she brought him out of that space. That's what I think.
So hold on. So you thought he was a fuckboy, or he might have been a fuckboy, but it took Jennifer to bring him out of the space of being a fuckboy. Is that what you said, counselor? I just want to make sure I heard you.
That's how I interpreted it.
Because that's how I heard it.
That's not
right? Okay. Right? Right? Okay.
You guys are doing too much. No, I think that people will stop perceiving him that way because they're actually going to get married.
Oh, gotcha. You mean like marriage would actually make him not a fuckboy for the position?
That's not what she said. That's not what she said.
Again,
I was going to say, you obviously acknowledge that people percperceive him as a fuckboy. That's what it sounded like to me.
That's what it sounded like to me too, Adele. These are the
acknowledgments.
That looks anyway. She was saying that his image, he has an image, whether it's deserved or not. And his image will be rehabbed by a change in what people perceive as his actions and his motives, right? But I'm saying he's just been a dude the whole time, a man out there looking for love, right? Who decided that he wasn't going to just first park it on the first person he came to or the person everybody thought he should have been with, because he was looking for the person who was right for him. And even now, as people pressure him, calling him names like fuckboy and things like that, they pressure him to say things that would advance his relationship past where he and Jennifer are currently at and where they are moving and how they want to move. They're going to basically try to get this man to propose before he can even propose. You keep asking him these questions. Let the man move in his time, people, right? Jennifer wants to be as surprised by the moment, right? When she feels like, wow, that moment when he proposes and gets down, she doesn't want to know it's coming. No pun intended. So I'm saying.
Because he makes her come all the time, huh? That's what you're trying to say?
Coming soon.
I'm saying give the brother some space, y'all. Give him some space. Don't be hating on him like that. He's a man. He is doing a very good job, I think, of demonstrating the steps a man should go through when he's looking for the kind of lady he wants to be with. Look, try girls out. I know it sounds bad. Jay-Z made a song about it. The song made it sound even worse. But seriously, that's what dating is. The man dated, and now he might have found the one, and I'm happy for him. Matter of fact, come and send me an invitation to the wedding. I'll be there. What?
As he heads to hospice care. That was S&M remarking about how old he is at this point in his life to have finally found someone, which I thought was an adequate thing to say in the moment. You know, here's the thing. I remember the last time we had this conversation, we were talking about whether or not that was something that Jennifer wanted, right? And the thing that I gleaned from that interview was, yes, that is clearly something that Jennifer wanted, right? Because we were talking about how some guys dangle this carrot of marriage, right? And they have all of these, qualities that a woman would, of course, want to be with, but they, for some reason, can't pull that trigger. Your Honor, the amount of evidence that we have against the defendant, Common, is fucking ridiculous. The nigga's 51 years old. Let me regurgitate the things from maybe the last mistrial. Okay, I feel like this is like the Menendez situation, right? But he gonna be guilty this time when we're done with this shit, right? Just like them. The point is, Your Honor, this is not the first time, Jay. Okay, the first woman that he's married. Common has publicly had a litany of women that he has bedded and courted over the years. And might I add, right? What seemingly were very quality women. Now, I get before you say, how do we know? You're right, we don't. But when guys show up a certain type of way, especially publicly, they are telling us to have a certain level of expectation, right? When you, sir, not you, Jay, specifically, but Common, right, says things like, if I were to get married, well, if that's the case, what the fuck is holding you up, fam? Because if you ain't ready to do it, shut the fuck up about it, right? Because it's behavior like that, right, that breadcrumbs women who are already predisposed to think you're that type of guy who would want to commit despite the fact of a lack of track record that shows any meaningful commitment in the last 51 years of his life. Okay, let's redefine. Can we, Your Honor, for the jury or for those people in the back or who might be a little slow, our definition of fuckboy is a nigga who presents a certain type of way but lacks, right, the actions, the conviction, you know what I'm saying, to follow through on the things that their persona, how they come across, and what they say present to these unsuspecting women who fall for it. That's what makes them a fuckboy. Had he not said anything, hey, Your Honor, hey, Charlemagne, whoever's being interviewed, you know what, bro, I keep my shit private, you know what I mean? My relationship's important to me, and that's just what it is, but I appreciate you for asking. He could have shut it down right there. When he went on the show, he doubled down. You're right, Kim. Let's do a countdown, because if the nigga does not marry her, does that then make him a fuckboy? Because now he literally went on television multiple times talking about if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, Your Honor, and for the people of public record, can you imagine? You know what? Let's put ourselves, and I'm going to pass it to Esther with this. Let's put ourselves in the position of these women who've had heartbreak, who've gone through tragedy. Jennifer Hudson has been through a lot in her life, including a failed marriage, right? So when we think about this whole fuckboy thing, yeah, it's fun to just talk about Common, but let's talk about the women who might have been left in his wake, the hearts that might have been broken. We sit here and bemoan how women aren't settled down, why they aren't being married, being professionals later in life. Could it possibly be that these women have run into the Commons of the world who basically took away what little bit of hope they had to be able to find a real man because they thought they found one? But that real man didn't step up and put a ring on it. It is easy for us to just focus on the predators and the people like Common because we like him. But what we don't think about are the women that is left in his wake. I rest your honor.
If this were a court, there would be so many calls of like, oh my God.
I appreciate that. Heartfelt.
He is, no, what
I
are you
appreciate
talking
that.
about?
Get him a
Supposition isn't even,
tampon. What happened?
right. What is that? That was the
I
narrative.
appreciate that.
Storytelling?
Yes. And
Look,
listen,
Don't
I
say
Jay,
them.
appreciate
the
that.
jury are the
You
people
know?
in the comment section. Y'all tell us who is winning this case.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go S&M. I got down. Or
Okay,
Kim,
so
I'll get
look.
after you. Go S&M.
Okay, so here, this the thing for me. So Jennifer, previously, we didn't know whether or not she wanted to get married or not, right? However, as we know, women actually provide indicators of if that's something that they really want. The fact that she brought him on her show to ask him questions about something he said about her indicates that this is a trajectory that she wants. Now, he can say, well, she didn't say it out loud. Men aren't mind readers. But at the same time, nigga, take context clues. And if it got to be Blues Clues or whatever type of clues, Dora the Explorer bag, whatever you need to get to that point, then just recognize that she actually said, hey, this might be something I might want, even if they're on that even if they're having that conversation back and forth where they're just, it was like I said, it was cute. They was chit-chatting and so forth. And I was just like, wait, is Common still telling her if and when? Like, why are we still using these contexts versus, and he was talking about it as if she was not the person he was talking about. And that was also some concerns because that also indicated fuckboy shit, even though he was doing it in context of what he said previously and the way they're interviewing. So to me, along with his hell of a roster of so-called quality women. And I say this because, to be honest, some of them end up getting married themselves and divorced and so forth, whatever the case may be, you know. And he has like quite a Rolodex. So first of all, shout out to his Rolodex. And that's am I supposed to say like no homo or something too? Because I'm not gay or LGBTQ or any of that. But he got a hell of a Rolodex. You know what I'm saying?
S&M, the term is pause or no diddy is the new one.
Okay.
But
okay.
yeah, we're not saying anything. We love the LGBT people.
Yes, we do. We do.
So we say pause, like play
gotcha.
pause, and then no diddy. But go ahead, I got you.
I got
Love
you.
y'all.
Pause and definitely no Diddy or Diddler. And so with that being said, this to me, this whole interview, while it was all cute, light and friendly, I felt that it had more context to it and more nuances. And that at the end of the day, Kim, I want you to be right. I want this to be where he dropping the breadcrumbs like she a fucking little pigeon on a bench outside on a beach or on in a park and just waiting for him following the damn breadcrumbs to like, oh, we're going to get married one day. He said, if, now it's when and maybe, and I would be, you know, and so I hope she do get that bread at the end of that crumb. You know what I'm saying? That it's not just some more crumbs that's leading somewhere else to someplace else to maybe an actual pond. I don't know, but he was on some fuckboy shit, and I continue to believe that Common, no matter how popular he is, and I do like Common, don't get me wrong, was on some fuckboy shit. And the last thing I want to say really quickly before I pass it back to Jay, because Jay over down there twiggling his nose like he the fucking bewitch ass lady and shit.
Oh, wow.
But anyways, the last thing I was to say is this.
You went deep for that, right?
She went deep for that one.
Thanks for aging us.
Nick at night for that one.
Go ahead.
Hey, when I was a little kid, I did watch Bewitched because I was like, what's this? Like, it was fascinating. But anyways, side piece on that, side talking, whatever's clever. But with that being said, my other thing though is that for women, are they not seeing the way they're being led by breadcrumbs? Are they not seeing the pieces that are being dropped nice and slow and hoping and waiting one day and hoping he picks up his clues or whatever? So I hope they actually have this conversation because at the end of the day, Jennifer is well aware of his track record, and based on the fact that he's never been married, whatever's clever. If it doesn't happen, I don't want to hear her boo-hoo-hoo and crying and stuff, because she literally paraded him out on TV to repeat and double down on a fantasy that she may or may not have, or he may or may not commit to. And that's all I want to say. I'll pass it back to Jay so we can see this more.
Thanks. I think we need to just bring it back to earth, right? So the facts of the matter are that the people bringing this case against Common aren't really concerned about Jennifer's welfare. It's like S&M was like, "Yo, don't come back boo-hooing if it doesn't work out," right? So we're not really in it for Jennifer because we're worried about Miss Hudson. We're in it because we hate Common and we're hating on Common. But let's just step back from that too, right? Let's say it's not Common. Let's say it's bigger than that. Let's say it's just men and women in general, right? What one person calls breadcrumbs, another person calls romance. They call suspense. They call building up the expectation or the anticipation of this thing coming, right? The other side of that is, why do people keep moving the goalpost? In a wedding ceremony, there is always a part, I think, unless people doing some new age stuff, and they can do whatever they want to do, but typically there's a part where the people get to say they do or they don't, right? So even at the altar, you can look at the situation and go, you know what? I'm about to make a mistake. And rather than make a bigger mistake, because I'm worried about being embarrassed or what people are going to say, because there's a shift and I know new information that makes me move a little differently, I'm going to ride this out so people won't talk about me, right? A real mature thing to do might be to go, hey, at this moment, although everybody's expecting me to say I do, I can't. And not because I'm a fuckboy, but because I found out some stuff that I know it ain't going to vibe.
So, at the altar? Are you saying?
I'm saying
I'm just
honestly,
trying to make sure.
Like Love is
I'm
Blind. Love is Blind.
When's the last time? So what was the last altar the Common was at?
Listen,
yeah,
I'm trying to make
he hasn't been to an altar, and that's my point.
That's my point. He hasn't been to an altar yet.
He hasn't been to a, my point is
that is
my
our
point is
that is
he
our
can
point.
he can leave a relationship at any time prior to his I do, and nobody should be able to sweat him about it, because that's the way the system has been built for ages. And the goalpost should not be moved up to now where he's dating, and now that he's dating and y'all seen him dating for a while, he's got to hurry up and marry this girl to prove he's not a fuckboy. Like, what is that about?
So
now he's got to lock in for life, and he can't back out no matter what he finds out, no matter what kind of argument there is, no matter what a misunderstanding, maybe what kind of dissonance there is on a spiritual level. Now he got to lock in so the crowd, so the masses, so the mob media will be appeased. That's not fair to him.
Hold on, before we pass it. I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll land on this, right? I don't think I'm talking long, but I'll land on this.
No, it's not that you're talking long, because I think you're arguing the wrong point, and I think that's what S&M was trying to say, right? Okay. So I wanted to let you continue, but I feel like we should
go then, because she said
the charges against Common, the charges against Common as far as being a fuckboy is constantly being in a situation where he's not following through with any type of real commitment.
What do you mean following through? He's just dating until he's engaged. That's his commitment to be married. Now, once he's engaged, he needs to follow through, hopefully, on being married. But I'm saying even in the institute of marriage, there's a point at the altar where they still say, hey, here's a point we thought we'll leave in here or institute in here, where if either one of you suddenly understands this is not what you want to do, you still have this moment to say yes or no.
That's
so
what
I'm saying,
the group in the back.
Give that man his space, and he's doing the right thing. Even old girl who y'all say was light, you know what I'm saying, shading his love or whatever, Haddish had to say, I haven't heard him say this before. So the brother's in a new space. Even the chicks over the fence with the sign like Tisha Campbell and Boomerang, hey girl, even they like, look, this is different. So let the man breathe. And I rest.
Okay,
ahead,
so
Karen.
really quickly.
Hold on, let Kim go.
I'm sorry.
You want to respond? You want to respond, S&M?
Yes, I did. I did want to respond to. So you said you want to take it out of Common and Jennifer and put it in the real world, right? So in the real world, what this looked like is 17 years later, and then there's still no marriage. There's like 3 babies and whatever's clever. And so what we're saying is that perhaps in the real world, there's too many of these type of fuckboys, right, that aren't following through, but they're saying all the right thing. I want to go back to Nick Cannon, where Nick Cannon said he could be the perfect man. He knows how to be the perfect man and tell the woman what they want to hear to get what they want, right? To get what he wants. And so what if Common type personality, fuckboy, is saying, hey, if and when you'll be the person I'm going to marry. Because I've actually heard women complain about persons saying, he said I'll be the person that he'll marry, or I'm the person that he's so happy that I'm about to have his baby because I'm the person he's going to marry one day. And then that one day never comes. But he left that breadcrumb there. He said if, when, maybe. And then he started talking about if a woodchuck could chuck wood. And so that's where our problem is. You know what I'm saying? That's where our problem is.
They're always bad actors, but you can't lump everybody in that category, is what I'm saying.
And so it's like, if we're going to talk about it in the real world sense and take it out the celebrity world, then we do have to recognize that there are men out there who move like Common, who don't have good intentions in mind, and may actually be Nick Cannon in the background, except at least in Common case, he ain't dropping seeds and planting flowers and populating the world and shit. You know what I'm saying? So at least in that case, he's being responsible. So, and then as far as I was trying to figure out where you was going with the whole I do, he can still say I don't at the altar. He ain't got to the altar yet. And I understand what you're saying, that he has all up until the altar to opt out. I got that. I understand that completely. We're saying he ain't even going to get to the altar because that's not his intentions anyway.
His track record has not shown that. Absolutely.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. We're like, that's not even an option. That's like fantasy land at this point. But you know what? You are right. Because he's finally saying something that he's never said before. So maybe there is hope. I will concede on that point that maybe there's hope. But at the same time, how we know he wasn't saying stuff like that? He may not have said it to Tiffany. And to be honest, based on Tiffany's behavior, I don't know who would have said it to her. But he may not have said it to Tiffany.
Damn.
Shots fired.
But did he say to Erykah Badu back in the day? Because,
he did.
Erykah Badu.
He went vegan for that. Stop. Electric Circus my ass. We saw that damn album, or maybe we didn't because it was so far up Erykah Badu's vagina.
He sung mad accolades about Erykah Badu. So how do we know he didn't tell Erykah Badu that? You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
how do we know he didn't tell Serena Williams that, and that's why Serena went the other way? How do we know that, although they did say Serena and him ended up on good terms, so I ain't gonna fault that. But you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that we don't know the extent. In this case, it's a little bit more public. And he just didn't say to Tiffany.
Aren't he and Erykah on good terms too?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say Erykah's on good terms with all her peeps, because she's the only person I know who got a candle and 3 baby daddies, and she still don't get clowned for being with 3 baby daddies.
Where's the trail of broken hearts that is always left behind a fuckboy?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. And I want to pass it to Kim because y'all been going back and forth, and I'll be damn y'all if y'all gonna leave me out of this one, right? You know why what makes being a fuckboy even worse is that they pick good women. It's almost like part of the standard operating procedure, right? Like a good, solid chick. Jay, to answer your question why you haven't heard about how fucked up he was, because those women were solid, bro. That's why. They weren't ratchet.
My gosh.
They were, I'm being honest. Like, there's women out here, when we see them do things in terms of putting their business out there, we look at them a certain type of way. Wrong or right. I know I do sometimes, like, damn, why are you putting your business out there? So when you talk about solid women who take their L's silently, that is solid to me, bro, because maybe they didn't feel like, hey, what would I get of putting him out on blast? And it's funny because a lot of people who are scammers, they scam on certain people because those people know that surely because of embarrassment, they were not likely to even report the crime. So don't act like you never heard that before, right? There's a lot of people who are victims. I'm not trying to equate what Common is doing to a crime. I'm talking about how people sometimes, either because of embarrassment, number one, or number two, like just being a solid person, they're not going to be out there saying certain things. I believe a lot of the women that Common has dated, at least that we've seen publicly, seem solid. You know what I'm saying? Serena seems solid to me. You know what I'm saying? She's an icon. You know what I'm saying? She's married, doing her thing. She had to go to the white boy because the brother that she maybe really wanted wasn't ready to step up and commit to her. So can I be mad at her for that? Or am I looking at the nigga who she had the opportunity to bag her though, for real, right? So to answer your question, Jay, that's why we don't hear from some of these women, because sometimes these fuck boys are masterful in regards to picking really solid women. And you know what makes women solid? Because in these conversations in regards to marriage, there's a lot of women who are saying, hey, I'm opting out of marriage. I don't want to be married. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. But then when you find those women who clearly are open to marriage, and you know how we know they're open to marriage? Because some of them actually got married, right? So they, through actions, They showed us as women that they were not for the streets. They showed us that they had a goal in mind and they accomplished it. So the thing is, and just to piggyback off what S&M is saying and then pass it to you, Kim, the thing is, this is a proxy for us to have real conversations, right? And so based off of his lack of actions, nobody's saying he can't back out of a wedding, but bro, he hasn't even gotten to the altar at all. And this is somebody who's been talking about spending his life with his significant other for like 30 plus years when we first got introduced to him. That was one of the things I loved about his early albums. I mentioned this before, right? So someone who is air quotes intentional, who also has all of the resources and who's also attractive enough and who is, whatever, there is no reason, bro. And the thing that gets me, Jay, about you making this argument, right, is because somehow you found your way to marriage. Not once, not twice, right? And so as men who know that we are air quotes masters of the universe, right? We know that if we want something, we gonna go out there and get it. So his lack of getting it and having all the ability to get it suggests that he didn't really want it. So then when we see him out here publicly, right, and to S&M's point, possibly doing things privately in terms of breadcrumbing and giving women this carrot, this is a perfect proxy for the fuck boy. The nigga who is 51, who had, Kim, what do you call, I'm gonna pass it, you tell me what you, answer this question and you can take it, right? What do you call like a person who's like a perfect avatar for a criminal? Like the perfect, like this is case ground zero for a fuck boy. Like I don't see how, forget our light for common, forget trying to fight, I'm saying if you think about what a fuck boy is, I don't know that I could think of a better avatar. A guy who seems like any woman would want to marry, but somehow this nigga never ended up marrying. I don't know how y'all don't see that. But go ahead, Kim.
All right. Two things. I think it's possible. So when Calvin was like really at his top, there were a lot of people that weren't getting married at that time because it was like the 90s. It just was the way that it was. And so I'm not going to call him a boy. I'm going to use it. I'm not going to put the whole thing behind that. I'm just going to say it was different then. So he may have been different than he is right now, and he might be ready now. I also, on the other side of things, am thinking, and this is a little toxic, but it's all a publicity stunt. The whole thing is a publicity stunt to draw attention to both of them because Jennifer is transitioning out of the talk show and getting ready to get back into singing. And what if they're going to do something together? And so it's like a Gwen Stefani.
I feel like you heard it here first.
Yeah, that's what I really think, and I really do. I think that there's a strong possibility because Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton did that, and there was like publicity and sort of like a train behind it to get it.
We got something in common. Like do like a remix on the whole.
Oh, in common. That's
remember
really
that?
Look at that.
Yeah, that was like Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. They go, no, girl, no. No. You are such a romantic. Go ahead, Kim. I'm sorry. You are such a romantic. Go ahead.
I am. So I think that's what's going. I mean, it's not super romantic to be like wrapped up in a whole publicity stunt, but
that part.
Right. But I really think that's what's going on. I do. Like it's building momentum behind their careers, and because like Common's always Common, but like what's going on with Common right now? So it's always good.
Hearts. Yeah, you're right.
So it's good to like, always have something sort of building and going behind what's going on if you're a celebrity. So I think this is a great way to do it. And I applaud them. And if they even get married under a sham, I'm fine with it.
So listen,
and that's a big statement.
Jay, I'm gonna give you the last word if you want to go again because I feel like we're so ahead that I want to give you a chance to try to make the case. And because I felt like low key, Kim was coming over to our side. She was like, "Well, I won't call him a fuckboy, but I can't see why y'all would call him that. I can't see why the women that I'm talking to in these sessions may want to look out for a guy like him, right?" I felt like I was kind of getting that from Kim. Jay, I'm gonna give you the last word, man. Fight back. It's what the shit said.
So first off, I'm not behind. I just lapped you. You think you're ahead of me, but I'm really in front of you. So listen, in my true J. Cole fashion, let me refocus y'all on the point here that Common is doing new things, okay? And he has, dated some good people. I dated some really nice girls, some really nice young ladies, some ladies who would have made excellent wives. But they weren't excellent wives to me in that time of my phase of life where I was, right? And I wouldn't have been an excellent husband. And yes, I have been married a few times, right? I'm on my third right now and last. So you look like it, but this right, they ain't happening again. All right. So I'm just saying, I could have taken more time. I could have been more patient. I got married young. Somebody could have looked at my experience and say they want to move differently. I don't blame Common, who is just some years older than me, for biding his time, dating amazing women who he could have married and was like, you know what? There's something else I'm looking forward to. Hey, that's beautiful that he was able to select and date on that level. I applaud him. Okay. And I don't think because he might have passed upon somebody that I might have chosen, that means I should judge him as being somehow not serious about who he's mating. I think that his selectivity in how he married may be a reflection of how he's very careful, uber careful, right? When he wants to really think about this. Everybody's life is like a movie. It's about something. And as Nick, as you said, when Common introduced himself to us, he introduced himself as a man who was deeply focused and keenly, sincerely focused on like his girl, his vibe, his soulmate, his yin to his yang, right? It permeates his music through all his albums or whatever, right? That's part of his story. So in order for that story to be concluded and for a new Common to be birthed, there's a character arc that was going to take some time, right? For in the Bible, the children of Israel spent 40 years in the wilderness. Get this man 51 years, right? Did he start searching when he was 11? Get this man some time to look around and pick the right one. I think he might have found the right one. But even if he passes on this one, it doesn't mean he's not serious. A lot of women look at me now and like, dang, Jay, where was this when I was trying to holler at you? I'm the same guy, right? But you needed me on a certain time that I wasn't on. Don't put Comment on y'all's time, man. Let Comment and Jennifer be on their time. I say my piece in a hush.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I'm gonna just let you have that because that kind of, it just was what it was. You know what I'm saying? To be down, you know what I'm saying? This nigga 51 years old. Nigga who's been married 3 times. But listen. You know what?
I got through the 40 years though. All right,
let's move on because this next conversation is also something that I think we did talk about this season too. And it's interesting to me, and it's actually probably kind of personal to me a little bit, right? Because Tia Mowry recently, God bless her. I really do like her, but she is so fucking goofy sometimes. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that in a second. But no, because I really do, right? But I think she had maybe one of her best PR moments. I kind of feel like, in my humble opinion, right? And I frame it that way because, and I'll get to it later. But the point is, recently she came out, or a clip of her on her show came out, where it became known to us that she didn't start dating until she was 18, when she was allowed to date. Now, mind you, she was a child star and all that kind of stuff. So her parents were obviously very guarding of both her and her sister. And then she met Cory when she was 20. And she lost her virginity when she was 25.
Cory was my first.
Right. Yes,
everything.
I know.
So I wasn't even allowed to date until I was 18 years old. I met Cory when I turned 20, and I lost my virginity at 25. There, was that it? And then we got married. Boom. Welp.
And ended up marrying Cory Hardrict, right? And this the guy that obviously that she's since divorced. And I think the reason why that's interesting to me is because she has tried to portray herself a certain type of way, and this is probably one of the most vulnerable pieces of information I think you can kind of put out there as it relates to not only herself and her journey, but maybe some context of the relationship that she was in with this guy. You get what I'm saying? So I guess I wanted to ask you guys in terms of if that information changes how you look at her and her recent divorce, and even if not you specifically, I think it's fair that we know that there's been a conversation on the internet in regards to her and low key how she's kind of become a poster child for women who are just leaving relationships because they're unhappy type of thing. So you'll have a lot of guys who are kind of anti-Tia, and you have women who cheer her on and some women who won't. So I think that her perception, I think she has a perception problem more than she has like a bad person problem, right? To a certain extent. And so I think this information may allow people to look at her differently. What do you guys think? Do you think that something like a woman being a virgin and her first real partner end up marrying them, does that change your perceptions on the demise of her relationship is the question.
It makes it sadder in a sense. It makes it a little more understandable, but it makes it sadder. If I could just jump in, because I'll be very brief. Sadder because I feel like she had the security of this was all she had known. And I think that there was, that of course, grass is always greener thing. And, my life be better. I look over. I know a lady who was dating a guy for like 3 years and a close friend of ours. And she then saw me with my now wife when we were just dating, and we were on a cruise, her and a friend. She saw the way I treated my wife, I was just dating then, and she dropped her boyfriend. She was like, "Yo, I deserve better. I've been with you 3 years. You don't treat me like that." So I think maybe that was a little bit of her looking over the fence or whatever. I don't know. I do feel a little sorry for her now, but I also feel like she really doesn't really have a lot to compare to, and now she's out there in this big world, and she realizes there's a lot of junk out there, and she's like, "Man, I really could have just stayed where I was." So I kind of felt like that about her whole story to begin with. Just because I think, not that she should have stayed where she was. I'm not in a relationship, but I do feel like things look like they're better when you're out, but you got to stick it out if you can stick it out. And I really wish they could have worked through it. I feel like it's a really big loss for her now because that is a huge part of her story. So my heart goes out to her. But as far as the story about her timing of the story, I don't particularly care for. Put it in a memoir or something. Put it in some context. Now it seems like publicity or something. That's it. Sorry, guys.
No, thank you for that, Jay. Tell us how you really feel. I feel like
Yeah.
you were holding back a little bit. I want to make space for you if you want to continue to really express yourself. But
fine.
that was good. Okay, Kim, you're making some faces.
I believe I agree with a lot of stuff he said, and that's crazy. So I feel sorry, buddy. So I feel like I do feel like when Nikki started, you said something like "God bless her," and I was like, "Bless her heart," in the way that I mean it. Like I feel like she's just given too. She's trying to give some kind of sympathy, and I'm just like not feeling anything, like when you're not feeling. And so Jay, I agree, like it's just not like tugging. I feel bad for the situation. It's like if somebody gets splashed and they were too close to the curb and you're like, oh, but it's raining, so step back. So it's like
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
See,
it's
That's
just,
maybe I
savage.
have to be the
I love
one.
it.
Go ahead, Kim.
Toxic.
I
I love
just
it.
think it's one of those things where like I want to feel bad for her. Like just now I was like, what religion were they growing up? Like I wanted to feel the story a little bit more.
I
Yeah,
could
I
bet
know. That's
which
what I
one.
was like. I got distracted. I went down a rabbit hole for like a second. So I was like, maybe it's like they were something that just like drugged them into some nonsense. No, just like it just like and it's like one of those stories where yeah, kind of right. Like it's like okay.
Oh, that's so
Um,
messed up. Go
I,
ahead. I'm
All
sorry.
that
I
came
don't mean to
for
interrupt.
comment that they were doing, and now they can't muster up anything. Wow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I feel like she's just trying
But
to. I think she's
add this to
trying
the
too
record, Your
hard.
Honor.
Yeah, you goofy. I feel like she's trying too hard, and I don't. I think that she should take the time to heal in her journey instead of being out here trying to put together a public story. And I think that's really where I land with it. Like I want her to be healthier, but she's so used to because she is a child star. My perception of it is that she is so used to being in the center of attention that this is like that moment because she like there were weird things like me and my sister aren't that close. Like there was just like stuff just kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks kind of stuff. And none of it. Just like girl, step back, get a haircut, like do whatever it is you do to revamp your image and then come back out
Eat something.
and
Yeah.
is she not eat? Okay. I was like, oh, now I care. What happened if she's not eating?
No,
I got
it's just
bored with that.
preference. I'm not saying that I know any
Yeah.
information or I've seen
I see
anything.
you
Just
talking
preference.
about
Go
like
ahead.
your attraction. You are a mess. I just think that maybe she just needs to step back a little bit. There's no reason to be always trying to grasp for the public eye and trying to get people to hear a story about. And I feel like she would be so much more interesting if she did that. If she took a step back, like I mean, who cares? This is rude. But I'm gonna say it like who cares? Like, really, who cares? Who cares about her getting divorced from Cory? Like, I don't care about that at all. I don't really know Cory that much, really, to be honest. Like, she and her sister kind of dominated her little brother. They were the big deal. So it's cute. I just think like this is dumb, and good topic though, but like, I just feel like
This
it's
topic is dumb.
no. I
Wow.
said
No, let's
good
get that on the
topic.
record.
No, I said good. I said good
the
topic.
topic was good. She said her revelation about when she lost her virginity was dumb.
Oh, the
That is,
revelation
thank you.
of that?
I was like,
Really? Okay. That's still the same thing to me, but okay. Thank you for making that distinction.
it's not. It's not
Wow.
to me. It's just like
It's a
it's
distinction.
been there. It's been there the whole time. You know what I mean? Like it's been there the whole time. Like I thought it was more interesting when she and her sister had this like little thing where they were talking about, do you do the pull-out method? And they both said yes. I was like, you idiots. That was recent.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but we're
Okay,
not in
kid.
that part of the conversation. But I'm just like saying, you know what I mean? Like it's just not that interesting. So I think that she needs to just take a step. I said it already, but like that is where I land. Take a step back, find something else to do, go on a trip, revamp.
So she's
Okay,
already
that's
been
enough.
on trips, by the
I
way.
know.
Yep.
She ain't cut her hair. Although normally when women cut their hair, that's supposed to signify some type of transformation for some reason. I don't know why it
Culture.
signifies some
It's
type of
culture.
transformation,
Culture.
but whatever's clever. And so I see that I am going to be the one that is clearly on opposite sides today. Because for me, I felt, and I think it's because I could relate a little bit more because I wasn't allowed to date till I was 18 as well.
Me too.
And I married my second boyfriend, right? And so not to put all my business out there, but the point is when she said that, so I felt that I can kind of relate to where she was coming from when she was like, this is her story. I think there was a feeling of her missing out perhaps because she felt like she did everything right. So I grew up very religious, and it was one of those things where for some reason there's a value, and I already know the reason, but there's a value attached to virginity, right? Which is why she held her virginity for so long, because there's a value that was attached to it. To this day, men talk about how women are ran through used cars, all this mileage, because there's still some type of value for some men that is associated with that virginity. And so she did everything that she thought was right. She married the person who took her virginity, right? They stayed together for many, many moons. And then she realized that she got what is called, I forgot what it's called, but it's like missing out syndrome or something like that, where
FOMO.
she started feeling like,
FOMO.
yeah, that's it. She started having some FOMO moments where she felt like perhaps she was missing out. Perhaps she didn't have a lot of experiences that she could have had or should have participated in when she was in her early 20s, because now that she's in her 40s, mid 40s, and she's trying to get these experiences, it's not working out the way she thought it was going to work out. And I think part of that is because, and this is what amazes me the most about this story, and while I do feel like this was a bit too much information on her part to share, I understood that she's basically looking for some type of absolution in the fact that so many people like, oh, you only did it. You're only sharing the story because you look bad for saying, I just want to be happy, right? And that's what the appearance was. People thought is because she's like, I'm not happy and whatnot. But it could have been they just grew apart. That's all they knew, and especially for her, especially sexually, right? And then depending on what they were interested in sexually, that could also contribute to it. There are some things that she may want to try, he didn't want to try, or vice versa. And so there's a lot more to that story. And then her being a virgin in the beginning already speaks to her limited experience. What bothered me about the story, though, is the amount of men who came on to basically slut shame her on the internet and was like, yo, so let me get this straight. You left this man because you about to be a hoe, right? Because they took something that she said and simplified it to, you left this man to go be a hoe, right? And it's like, well, I don't know if that's exactly what she's saying, but I can see why they somewhat interpret it, because she talked about her limited experience and they correlated directly to her now going through a so-called hoe phase. But when she talk about her life still, she's still saying like dating sucks. And I don't know if she can shake the good girl image. So I don't think she out here slutting around, hoeing it up or any of that, because that's a part of her that's ingrained in her. So I can't see her doing a 180 and now becoming the biggest slut of the week or something, that thought over there, But anyway, so for me, my perspective is that while I do think it's a little bit too much information. I do believe it could have went into her memoir. I actually think there are some women who can relate to the idea of like, oh, wow, you know, I have limited experiences myself, or I did this myself, and now so I have that missing out syndrome. I don't necessarily feel like I'm missing out, but if they're not willing to have that conversation with their significant other, then I think that's what contributed to somewhat the demise of the relationship, because they didn't have that conversation, wasn't completely honest about what was missing. And I think it could be a lesson for married couples, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow.
Oh
Whew,
boy.
wow. Yeah. So I think I could be man enough, you know, to admit when I'm wrong or if I had a different perspective. Because I feel like when you get new information, maybe it should change your perspective on something, right? And so while I do understand y'all feeling like this was too much information, I think she has been somebody who's in the public. She's shared other facets of her relationship. Why not this part? Why not provide more context? I think her biggest downfall since the divorce has been a public relations one, right? Because for me, it's not even so when I was saying that earlier, I wasn't trying to intimate that she did this for publicity. I think this tracks with a lot of her life. She's done reality shows before. Her and her sister have done stuff before or whatever. There have been periods and times where she was, you know, kind of out there doing her thing as far as acting, and then some lows when we didn't really see anything from her, right? So she's probably been through a lot of ups and downs and whatever. But I think her biggest problem was like her public relations, right? When she came out and was like, yo, I've graduated, right? That could have been a woman trying to make sense of the journey that she was now undertaking. And so she was inarticulate and really trying to describe that to the world. But she got killed for that. You know what I'm saying? And so when we have lack of information, it leaves room for people to make assumptions. Like, for example, going back to being a solid woman, right? Let's say Cory did cheat on her. Let's say Cory multiply cheated on her a bunch, or let's say he was even emotionally abusive or whatever, right? If there was a reason that we would deem as justifiable, most people would not be killing her. But in the absence of that information, right, we're left with just making assumptions, right? We don't know. So the guys who are like, oh, he just left a happy relationship because she wasn't happy. Yeah, that might be the truth, but that also may not be the truth, right? There could be legit reasons, but she is just not telling the world because maybe she does not want the father of her children, to be perceived a certain type of way, right? Am I hearing noise, y'all? Because that's kind of with my flow right now. Am I hearing noise? If you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I gotta
something like The Shining.
I'm like, is it static? You know what I'm saying? Is it dog's feet penny pattering on parquet? Right? So part of me, if I try to get back to my initial train of thought, right? But my point is that in the vacuum of information, it's easy for the public to fill in their own void. So I think her biggest issue was that she was doing little TikTok videos. I mean, low key, she's goofy. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because girls can be goofy, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to say she's goofy, and honestly, goofy can be cute, but she's goofy though, right? So when you mix in like a life-changing situation, some bad PR, the need to be in the public with it, not going through the healing or whatever, it's going to come out messy, is what I'm basically trying to say, right? The reason why this changes it for me, because I can relate to the situation if I'm being honest. Right? If you want to get more information about how I can relate to the conversation, tune into After Dark. You dig what I'm saying? But the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of niggas be wanting shit, right? Niggas be having conversations about wanting women with no body counts, but not really understanding the responsibility that is from the man's perspective. Right? I mean, I think we got to be, because I can totally see how she was unhappy. And not the kind of unhappy, like, oh, my husband's doing everything for me, but I'm just bored today. No, like lack of, this nigga ain't doing it for me. Like, can you imagine how bad it would have to be to know that even though it's all that you know, but you know there's got to be better out there. There is absolutely got to be better out here. This nigga won't even eat the box. Like, y'all, first of all, sorry, right? I don't want to go into after dark side of it. But what I'm saying is, if we're having real conversations about real reasons why she may have left the relationship, this type of information would have been helpful for those who were castigating her a certain type of way, including me. Like, I've never really necessarily castigated her, like came down on her or whatever, but I do understand the avatar that she is. And I think she has to be aware enough that she is that avatar. You get what I'm saying? Because men have already complained about, wow, you had a husband, he was there for you. This nigga's going on tours, public speaking engagements. He is building up sympathy. His PR team has helped him. It might have helped him land a fucking movie that he was trying to parlay into becoming the leading man that he never was while he was in a relationship with her. Right? Because sometimes when men aren't where we need to be, are we what we need to be at home? How does those dynamics play out? We talk about how sometimes men be jealous that their significant other has more traction than them. There's a lot of things that Shorty could have went through that we have no idea about what she went through, and she held that part down. If, in fact, she went through some things. So I'm at least going to give her some more grace. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing I'm going to say is most of us were not virgins when we married somebody. Most of us were not. So I understand it might be difficult for many of y'all to understand, like, that is different. That is different. You know what I'm saying? So even for her to leave that's the reason why that information because I think a lot of people in that situation, if it was feasible to work it out, their proclivity would be to work it out. If I had to propose a theory that people in that situation are more likely than not wanting to work it out because the fact that this is the only nigga you've been with, we think it's easy for people to want to go out there and FOMO. No, it's hard to leave what's familiar. It's hard to leave what you've already known. Things would have to have pushed you a little bit, right? So I'm just saying that it's not as cut and dry like, oh, she just a girl. No, most of y'all niggas ain't been with a woman like that. Right? Most of y'all niggas couldn't even deal with the woman like that because there is responsibility as the man to know that, yes, she's going to have FOMO. So what do you do in the relationship to address it straight up? Like having real conversations, not hiding behind the fact that, oh, she might want to fuck some other nigga. Nah, bro, she's a real human being who haven't had real experiences. Are you able to have that conversation? Are you able to ask yourself, are you doing everything to please her or open up experiences? Right? Because you've taken that responsibility. You knew what the fuck you was getting into in the beginning of that fucking relationship. That bar is a little higher because there's an extra level of responsibility that nigga has. Right? If nothing else, to be mindful of the fact that he met her how she was and she did not have those experiences. So you got to be able to be mindful and navigate that. And I'm being honest, I don't think most people are built for that. So all the niggas who talk that they want that walk. No, you really don't, bro. No, you don't. Because that's a lot of work to consider that part of her experience because she doesn't have any, fam. And it's completely possible that Cory was just not able to handle certain parts of that relationship. And so I'm going to give her more fucking grace. You know what I'm saying? I am. You know what I mean? That's yes. Y'all was out here fucking caping for a nigga who ain't never committed to shit. And then at the same time, showed no grace to a woman who not only committed to a man, first of all, she committed to her chastity. First of all, she did things, the air quotes, right way. Second of all, she was married to the nigga, gave nigga kids, and made a commitment to that marriage and relationship. And I'm not saying y'all gotta agree with it, but y'all couldn't give her a scintilla of some due respect in relations to the swinging that y'all was doing for Common. Come on, man.
Oh my God.
Listen. I don't have to come on. I'm already here. Wait a second, sir. So there was proof of Common's wrongdoing because there weren't any women to speak up and say he did wrong. So there must be some stand-up women out there. We're going to give grace. We're not going to give grace because there are some imaginary complainants out there. Here is this woman who says, I only had one peen and I decided I didn't like that thing. And I wanted to see if other things were better out there in these streets.
That's not what she said, Jay. What did she say, Jay? Go ahead and misrepresent yourself on this broadcast, Jay, to make the point.
Okay, what I was saying. Okay, so she didn't say it, but there are people who do that, and I think those people are under her skirt tails. So I'm glad we can shoot these people out of the conversation. So what she said was she wasn't happy. Now you brought it to the peen, and you said maybe some things weren't there; they were measuring up. So maybe that wasn't the thing, and so we'll all put that to the side. But even if she left because she wasn't happy, okay, I don't know what her relationship was like, so I'm fine with that. Right? I'm fine with her leaving. Don't make me none. And I was prepared to believe that maybe the dude wasn't right for her or whatever. But then she comes back and she says, hey, It's out here. It's mean out here in these streets. Dating out here sucks nowadays. I kind of wish I had stayed married. Well, wait a second. Wait, if it was a burning building and you had to flee, then that's one thing. If the temperature was just hot because the air conditioner was broken and you decided to move, that's a whole different story. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not condemning her, but nor am I writing her a blank check of grace. I'm saying when you shift from one relationship to another, there's a risk and there's a trade-off. And like everything in life, there's opportunity cost. Like she didn't have that fun when she was younger because she chose to live a certain way. There's an opportunity cost. If you're going to go back and live it that way later, there's an opportunity cost. Women who decide to be all about their careers and never get married, there could be an opportunity cost. And there is for some of them. Women who decide to get married early on and like, man, I wish I'd put more into myself. Hey, opportunity cost. I don't see where she gets special laurels or whatever for this aspect. I mean,
she does.
Okay.
Name the number. The number of 25. Go ahead, Kim. For a woman to come on, y'all. Fuck 2024. Even back then, that's not a normal thing, Jay.
It sure is.
So if
I grew up in a Pentecostal church. There were lots of
so you disagree with the fact that we place as a society value on virginity? You're saying yes, not a thing? Yes or no, sir? Is it a thing or not?
As a society, do we place value on virginity?
Correct.
What you're saying?
Correct.
As a society, no.
Okay, cool. That's your opinion.
Mainstream.
Okay.
What
mainstream?
the hell?
Not mainstream society.
Come on.
Pop culture.
Yeah,
pop culture.
Yeah,
I say no.
Yeah. Just because people don't attain it or don't have it doesn't mean they still don't value it. Let's be clear.
It's
right?
valued.
Only 1% of people have $1 million, but we all like that shit. We think it sounds great if we can have it.
In
right?
the media that we consume, how often is it put forward as a virtue or as a value to be pursued or to make one person chosen over the other?
All the time. We on the internet.
Yeah. Clearly, I'm watching movies that are rated wrong.
Okay.
Every
I think you're just looking at.
I mean, it's being disingenuous in the argument because if, in fact, you know where it was going, Jay, if we do place value on a thing, then yes, that woman who could claim that thing has more value than a lot of people. And unfortunately or fortunately, that makes her special, fam. Especially if she checks. Come on, man. Go ahead, Gil.
It's a very secular society.
What are we talking about? Go ahead, Gil.
Yeah. So I agree with everything that you said, Nick. I agree with it. I think that I just think that she needs to take a step back to not be talking about it right now. But now that you said what you said, I don't even know if I agree with that because I think it is a different side of a discourse in the public that just doesn't always get the conversation. So to your point, Jay, although this is not the point you were making, it is the other side of the coin is that like people are used to having this salacious conversation, like with one of the conversations we had recently where Red was like, well, I mean, we could share or boyfriends or whatever like that, but that's not normal. I mean, it's become a norm in society, but it's not normal, which is different. And so I think what Nick is saying is that the social norm is that people stay in the same relationship. So she's expressing something that comes from a tradition that is a traditional relationship kind of situation where somebody has stayed and been there since they were young. And now they're trying to step out into something else. So I take back what I said. I actually agree with what Nick said. And I think it's so important for that narrative to actually be, look, oh my God, I changed this now.
Come on, because you see the light, Kim. It's okay.
Second story that you came to our side.
Okay, Kim.
It's just that one moment that like, and I didn't like hit my head or anything, and so it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, like, if you look at it though from that perspective, it's boring because it's everyday life. And so when I was saying like I'm bored with it, it's because it's an everyday life story. It's like she's expressing something that is just like I stepped out of this, and I disagree with what you were saying, Jay, in the sense that like she has a right to walk away from the situation that she was in, and also be sad about it. You know, like I don't like it when I think it's really unreasonable and unfair to be like, well, you could have stuck with that situation. But the thing is, like, you do know I have also been in that situation where like everything was there on paper. Everything, like the money was there, the titles, the house, everything was there, except it just wasn't there. And you know in your heart when it's not. And so you don't have to have something else yet to know that you can't stay there. So that's a real thing. So I think that Nick, you're right. Again, like I'm giving you props all the way around because I think her PR people could really just have given her some better talking points because those are the things that would stretch people's hearts. Be like, I couldn't say anymore because it was tearing me apart to be in a space that was so empty for me. And that would change the narrative for people. And I think that's what she's trying to say, but like she's so broken right now, it's just sounding like duh, blah. Like that's not good, you know. That's what I said. That's
Go ahead, SNL.
So I was just going to say that I do agree that the PR could probably do a better job, but because it's coming from her heart, I don't think she's going from a script. I don't think she has talking points. I think she's just trying to find a way to get her story out there. And I think this is a side of the house that we don't necessarily see because Cory's career kind of did jump once he started his tour of, I didn't want this. He's crying on the couches and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So his career kind of did jump and it continued to paint her as the bad guy. And because his career jumped and he's doing this tour and so forth. And so I find it that she probably could have told the story. I think that, to be honest, she should have a book coming out immediately after talking about her virginity and so forth to further give people like this could be an opportunity for her to capitalize on one way by telling people more about her story, because at the end of the day, it's the good girl gone bad is how some people are framing it because they think she's about to go into her whole phase. And that's not necessarily true because she cannot change who she is fundamentally, right? And fundamentally, that's who she is as Nick called her, goofy. I like goofy, but I'm goofy, but whatever. A goofy, boring girl, you know what I'm saying? Or woman. And so I think that's just part of her story, part of her narrative. And I honestly believe that there were probably some hard conversations that they weren't having because neither one of them were either willing to have the conversation because it was uncomfortable, especially when we talk about things like sexual fantasies or other areas that could allow for some growth when you're in a relationship and this is your first and you're only, and this is all you know because this is your only boyfriend and so forth. I think that's actual valid conversation, And before I switch to the next topic, was there anything else?
Yes.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
yes,
Nick.
please. I got to say this. Okay. So I want to be clear. Okay. I'm team work it out. Okay. If it's all possible to work it out, work it out. I don't know if we've made this clear, or at least I know I tried to. I'm team pro marriage. You know what I'm saying? I'm team that. So the initial disposition of how this whole thing worked out, it's a bad look. That's why I kind of made me go back and look at the whole PR of it, because we don't know what's happening in these people's lives. But far too many people assume certain things without considering the counterbalance to their assumptions, right? So if you assume that she left the house because she was simply not happy, then why not also not assume, if you think that's possible, why can't it also be possible that she had legitimate reasons to leave and just chose not to talk about it? Right. But the problem is, like, for me in this conversation, I'm like, you know what? That piece of information does change it for me, because I believe, for example, if a young lady was born in a home where she saw her parents stay married until they died, and let's say there was some type of like religious element to that, I think it's more likely that that young lady or young man is likely to be in a marriage and fight for it harder than a person who has not had that experience. Right? Like, certain things I think fortify people or cause people to try to make marriage work, right? Religion tends to be one of them. Maybe family tradition, lineage tends to be another one, right? And honestly, I think that whole virgin thing, especially for women, is another one, because we talk about like how just dickmatized women can be, just simply off of just getting some good sex, right? I mean, if we all agree that could be a thing, then imagine, I'm not talking about that she would have to have had good sex. I'm talking about the impact that not having a sexual experience with another person, now that you are, right? There's a lot that am I marrying this person simply because we had sex? Because I think there's a lot of people who are getting into relationships just to have sex, right? So there's a lot of things that we don't think about how that one thing can make a difference, right? And the last thing I'll say is this. I'm not mad at her for trying to tell her story, because honestly, everybody else is trying to tell her story, right? So we were saying this is too much information. Well, how else is she supposed to combat it if she wants to combat it? If it is in fact impacting her, if it could affect her career. We mentioned, S&M just talked about how Cory Hardrict career is on the upswing. Could her career need a little upswing too? So, hey, I ain't mad at him for doing it, then shit, I wouldn't be mad at her for doing it. You dig what I'm saying? So, I just think that a lot of times, like, we get mad at people for not saying anything, and then we get mad at people for saying something. She's trying to, in the best way possible, to tell her side of the story. And I do think it does make a slight difference for me and maybe some other people too to get this piece of information.
So I agree with all of that. And you know who else is trying to put their best side forward, or all sides forward, or their good side forward? That would be Lizzo. Congratulations on her weight loss. You know, she's been out here supposedly on the Stairmaster, trekking back and forth, taking pictures like, and so shout out to her for her weight loss.
The fact that you would even discuss my looks is insane. I'm a bad bitch. Always been a bad bitch.
But one thing that hasn't changed is Lizzo's body positive attitude. As she captions the post, fine both ways.
But interesting enough, that has also triggered some comments and some backlash, because apparently the fluffiness ain't fluffing no more for some people. And at the same time, they're bringing, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So basically, she can't win even if she tried, because she done lost weight and she's still taking hits. But I'm just interested in hearing y'all thoughts about Lizzo, her weight loss, and, her so-called claim, and let me not say so-called because I seem I'm prejudiced in it, her claim that she's doing it all natural.
No, she's not. But no, she's not. No, she's not. It's going too fast for that to be. And she's lying about that. But she looks gorgeous. She looks gorgeous. And I think that she should do whatever she wants with her body, as long as she's being safe and healthy and all of the things that you need to do to be well in the world. I think she looks gorgeous. She's still her same self. People came at her all the time, no matter what she's ever doing. They're always giving her attitude. I love that she is so body positive, regardless, right? Like, she's like, this is me. This is the skin I got. I love that about her. And so she brings it, she puts it out there, she wears what she wants, and it's gorgeous. And I think that her whole demeanor is gorgeous. Sometimes if you look at her, though, you can see how she is affected by it. She looks sad in her eyes around just the way that people treat her, just kind of doing what she needs to do at any given time in her life. And so I don't like that, because I think that there's a lot of people are on the Ozempic sort of kick. I'm not accusing her of being an Ozempic, but I am. And I'm just saying that but a lot of people are, and so the body shaming thing, like, in general, needs to take its back seat and just, like, sit all the way down, because the whole attitude of, like, thinking that you need to have a commentary on it all the time and be like, well, why is she losing all this weight and how is she losing all this? She definitely is not losing that weight. She's showing her stomach, so it's not like she had a surgery or something. So she's doing something that's accelerating her activity with it, increasing her confidence, which I think is stunning. That's always a beautiful thing. And people need to back off and just let her do her life. Like, she gives the entertainment that we want from her, and I love that. And I get that people are going to talk about it because of the public eye thing, but she's gorgeous. She's beautiful inside and out. That's my opinion. I'm a big fan of Lizzo and the fact that she's so confident, and people have a right to that. And I think that it is an inspiring thing for other people to have that to look at.
There was no pun intended on that, right? You're a big fan? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, and also to look at. You missed all the puns. There were a lot of them.
You know who I won't miss? But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay. Did you want to get in on it?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not even doing that with y'all. I agree with a lot of what Kim was saying in regards to what. First off, full disclosure, I haven't always agreed with all of Lizzo's choices for publicity or fashion. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody's entitled to theirs. Just like she's entitled to wear whatever she wants to wear, as long as she's not breaking any, laws or ordinances. So, kudos to her. As far as her weight loss, I'm on the same boat as Kim in the sense that, it's her body. Let her do what she wants to do with it. And and also, no fat shaming at all. There are health consequences that come when we carry more weight. I've been subject to it myself. I've carried more weight since college, and I've been trying to, get healthier or whatever. So, she may be just trying to do it for her own health. I think people should just let her just, do her thing. Like Kim said, she's clearly not getting plastic surgery. So she's clearly trying to take some sort of actual caloric deficit medical, approach to it, which is how you do it, right? You just calorie deficit. So, I mean, I'm happy for her. I'm looking forward to seeing who she is about to become as she's on her journey of still loving who she is, right? You can love yourself and still say, yo, I need to grow and improve in a certain area, or I just like to see myself blossom differently or manifest differently in one area or another in my life. You can still say that about yourself, have those conversations with yourself, and still love yourself. Right. And I think that's important. I think that's a really, really great example that she's modeling right now. So my hat's off to her. Couldn't be prouder. Play your flute, girl. Blow your own horn.
Yes. Listen, I have a friend, right? He's a smoker. Every time he goes into the doctor's office, the doctor tells him he needs to stop smoking. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he'll be outside smoking and random people will come up to him like, hey, you should really quit smoking this. Those are bad for you. Right. And on the surface, you're like, man, mind your own fucking business. You know what I'm saying? But, some of those people may genuinely be saying, Jay, why are you
I'm cracking up because on the surface, yeah, right. Right. All the way on the surface. Like, did I say it out loud? That part of the surface.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, so, a person might stop and be like, hey, so on the surface, you might be thinking that person's judging you. Right. But some people actually really do care. Right. I know that we live in a society now that for anybody to say anything, they should not. So I'm like, which one do we want? Do we want a society that doesn't care about each other enough to maybe step up and say something? If something's happening to somebody else, do we not want anybody to interact or no? Right. Because we want everybody to live in their own happy bubble, right? Until it affects us. Right. Right. Because part of the reason, for example, secondhand smoke, yeah. But also like the amount of stress that puts on our entire system from the type of different diseases that are caused by smoking, for example, right? And science will tell you that there's a lot of things caused by that. And so trust me, that really weighs on my friend who's a smoker. But the reason why I'm saying all this, right, is because, yeah, let that soak up for a second, right? Because my question is where's the line between just calling out a thing and body shaming? Right? Like, honestly, I would not have seen Lizzo's body unless Lizzo showed it to me. To be honest with you, like I didn't go looking for Lizzo's body. You know what I'm saying? Like Lizzo puts her body out there. She's done that on numerous occasions. You know who I've not seen? Like there's a lot of other people of different sizes who are not constantly showing us their bodies for it to be viewed, commented on, et cetera, et cetera. Right.
That's part of her marketing. Though.
Right. Oh, I don't give a fuck because guess what comes with that? FATLASH. Right?
He said
Is that a real word or a new word?
It
feels like a new word.
I just
like a new
word in the moment. Okay.
You trademark that way.
Because like the whole thing that happened at the basketball game with her ass out with kids outside, it was like a whole brouhaha. She brought that on herself. Right. And then when you start that conversation, it's inevitably going to go into the health part of the conversation. And what is at that point, is it fat shaming or no? Right. So for me, like, listen, man, do what you do, love who you love, all that shit, man. But I feel like she is a victim of her own fake shit. Like, I feel like sometimes she tries to pretend that she's this confident person, but I feel like people who are really confident don't have to go out of their way to show that they're confident. Maybe that's just me. You know what I'm saying? People who truly are okay with a thing and are comfortable in their skin about a thing aren't constantly putting that thing out there to prove how okay with that thing that they are. And then it becomes a vicious cycle because once she puts that out there, then gets the negative feedback, right? And then that causes some frustration, anxiety, or whatever, which then maybe causes her, because I remember watching this thing about Oprah and the different cycles that Oprah go through. People who truly deal with weight, a lot of them, it's emotional issues that kind of cause some of their weight issues as well. So then when you're in the public, I get it's marketing, but it's marketing that seems to be dangerous for her own self and well-being. If she's going to constantly be in this thing of, I got to prove to people, nah, sis, if you lost your weight and you happy with that, cool. Do you? But she's the same one who 1 minute would say, hey, I'm comfortable with who I am. I love me. Then drop some weight and then come back and lose. So she's already showing us she's on that Oprah plan. You dig what I'm saying? Right? And so I'm not trying to be funny because I think she's amazing and she's talented. I'm talking about how people got to stop trying to put on for the public and maybe causing themselves further harm or feel like they got to show off or show out for other people. That's why I don't buy her fake confidence. I think she has like moods where she feels good about herself because she's accomplished something. And then when she's not feeling good, she bemoans that because she's also done that too.
Yeah, you're right.
You dig what I'm saying? So it's not about fat shaming, right? I think the real problem is people aren't really happy with themselves and they spend way too much time trying to prove to other people that they are, as opposed to working on the things that actually would make them happy with themselves, right? Because whether it's skinny Lizzo or fat Lizzo, I don't give a fuck. I want happy, healthy Lizzo. And whatever version of that is good for her, then let that be good for you, boo. You know what I'm saying? But y'all can't be out here mad at us that we're commenting on some shit that she put out there. And then when people have to call out the fact that there are some real repercussions about being obese or morbidly obese, right? And then low key, this whole body positive shit is the same shit that y'all women do to each other. Y'all create these delusions like it's okay to be mediocre. Like it's okay to be sick or it's okay. I'm not talking specifically about weight. I'm talking about in general. There is a conversation about the delusion that people are in when it comes to relationships. Your girlfriend not telling you, hey sis, nah, you was wrong with that. Nah, you're moving a certain type of way. There's already that conversation. And what I'm saying is, to me, the whole body positivity thing, while well-intentioned, to a certain extent, I also think it creates a safe space for delusion that can have real consequences if people are not being more careful about their health and their weight. And that is okay to say, man, stop playing. All this little tiptoe y'all want to do about the fact that she might be hurting her. Go ahead, Esther, man. Go ahead.
So just a couple points. My first one was that I agree with Kim that I believe there is some secret sauce that she's using, not Ozempic, Ozempic. And the reason why I say this is because Monique has been dancing the pounds off and she's been doing it all natural for quite some time. And as a matter of fact, Monique, and this is where it's kind of sad, Monique was the one who actually started the body positivity movement, because with her first book called Skinny Girls Are Bitches, I believe that's what the name was. And basically it was like where she talked about she don't trust anybody who was in the single digits. But anyways, and it provided some tips and trips and so forth in regards to body positivity. And that's when Monique herself was living under the guise of, oh, being fat as hell, morbidly obese is still being healthy. Like you could be fat and healthy, and that's not true. You can't be fat and healthy. That's impossible to be fat. Matter of fact, there are some skinny people who aren't healthy either, though. So don't get me wrong on that either. And so it's all about but as you know, and we saw this with COVID as an example, people who were morbidly obese, and even overweight had higher chances of complications associated with COVID, higher chances to include death because of their weight. And so I actually applaud Lizzo for doing this. I'm sad that Monique, for whatever reason, is not the actual face of this body positivity and losing weight naturally movement. And Lizzo has some, maybe because she's younger, she resonated with the crowd. Monique has been put out to the pasture for some reason, in addition to her years being blackballed. But but
put out the pasture. Not you call it Monique a cow, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
Weird.
And so, well, no, that's what, at least I ain't compare her to old Yeller and put down and shit like that. But no, but seriously though, seriously though, I mean, like so the point I'm making though is that Lizzo, I applaud her. I think that she recognizes that her health is her wealth, especially as she continued to know, and especially since she knows she's a role model. She has accepted the fact that she's a role model, which is another reason why she was all on that body positivity and so forth. And I think that this is an opportunity. Now, what I will say is I disagree with she can wear what the hell she want to wear. I think that the clothes you wear brings some type of responsibility. And for example, I'm not saying I'm looking at her, but when she was at that game and they showed her with her butt cheeks out and all that good stuff, I'm like, I don't want to see that. I don't even want to see no other people on skinny bitches. So, no, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, I don't even want to see that. It's like, and then there's children around and so forth. So I'm like, let's be more conscientious of how we present ourselves, because not all attire is meant for everyone. Even looking at Kanye, whatever the hell he's going by now, wife, right? What's her name? Blanca, I don't know, but she dresses like a hot fucking mess.
Are they
And I'm
married?
like, why in the hell do you got on nothing, ma'am? Why are you walking around with a pillow on, ma'am? And it's because there's times and places, perhaps in her bedroom for that. But the point I'm making is that I disagree with Jay when he said that she can wear whatever the hell she want to wear. No, that's not true. There's a responsibility to dress appropriately for the place you are. If you're on the beach and your ass out, cool. You know what I'm saying? Get that suntan between them cheeks. I support it. But if you are in a public place with kids and stuff around, I don't think we all need to see it. Matter of fact, like I said, I don't want to see that. So at the end of the day, I agree mostly with what Nick said. He kind of lost me a little bit when he went general with women being delulu, but there are some elements of
That's your
of
natural woman's
you
inclination
know
to
what I'm
not
saying?
want to fight this logic.
There's some elements of where, we do need to be holding our sisters more accountable on the way they present themselves. And so I applaud her, especially since she had that show. I forgot what the name of the show was, but when she had all these big girls auditioning to be on tour with her and all that good stuff. And how they were actually expected to actually maintain a certain weight themselves, even though they were supposed to be big girls. And so it was just a matter of she knows better, so let's do better. And so I'm proud of her. I think she could keep rocking. And to be honest, the clothes that she is still choosing to put on look slightly better. I still don't want to see it, but it looks slightly better now simply because it seems to fit. She's picking clothes that are more specific to her body type. Versus, oh, I'm so big and obese and all this good stuff that I don't care what I got on because at the end of the day, I'm going to do me. And I agree that it was an insecurity. I think that she was masking something. Like, I think she was forcing herself to do it. And that's why you see this sadness when she talk about how she still gets shamed no matter how much weight she lost. Because somebody like, damn, you dropped like a whole body, and it's like, damn, that's fucked up for you to phrase it that way. But and that's why the sadness is still there, because it was always from a place of insecurity where she was forcing herself to do this. Because from my understanding, if you watch her show, she's always been a slightly bigger girl her entire life. And so this was just her way of saying, accept me as I am. And now it's like, accept me as I am. But however, I recognize I have health issues. So I'm going to take care of that.
Did she say that as far as the whole health issues or no? Are we assuming that?
Well, I'm
Because I didn't hear
assuming
that.
I'm assuming that she was talking to her doctor because as part of that show that she was doing, they had doctors and physicians on site and so forth to assist with the girls, paramedics, EMTs, which I thought was a little over the top. But I understand because one of the girls ended up passing out after
Necessary.
dancing a little bit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I understand. So the fact that they did have on the show itself, they actually had people coming in and talking. I'm sure she was hearing this herself. And, somebody had that conversation with her and she actually listened this time.
Listen, I'm gonna say this, and we can probably move on to the rest of the show before we get up out of here. But I feel like I want to be clear. I don't have. I think women of all sizes are beautiful. Some of I feel like confidence, real confidence, when a woman. I know we always talk about men's confidence. But I've seen some women who just how they step into the room, you're like, damn, even if she wasn't your type, you're like, yo, Jill Scott comes to mind, for example, right? Because I remember I was watching some podcast and something about Jill Scott, resonates with a lot of guys. Like you'll hear them publicly talk about how fired Jill Scott is. Obviously part of it, I think, is just her appeal and who she is as a person. And she's a beautiful woman too, right? But I think the Jill Scott reference, now that I think about it, is a perfect segue too, because I want to say this last piece. Because I feel like, ladies, you can be beautiful and sexy without being revealing and having to take your clothes off. You know what I'm saying? Do women really still know that in 2024? Whether you're small or large or whatever, you could be sexy with almost a turtleneck and some, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to be so revealing in order to be attractive. And I feel like people just think that's what they have to do nowadays in order to get attention. I'm not saying that's what Lizzo's doing because she was showing her body. I do understand that for her, that was probably maybe trying to be an example and set a good tone, all that whatever stuff. But I do feel like there's a danger in doing that. But I kind of feel like a lot of times, especially when they portray larger women in films, they're always like the sluts or like the sexually promiscuous one. As if like for example, if you remember Insecure, the larger sister on that show, she was the more freaky one. If you think about the little singing movie with all those little white girls who were singing, the larger girl was the one who was over this. So I kind of feel like we just, you don't have to do extra to just be, sexy and attractive. I think confidence a smile or however you present yourself is the best place to start in being your most attractive self. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that helps somebody out there. Because I feel like a lot of times people play into these stereotypes and feel like they got to do a certain thing to get attention and they don't. You know what I mean? But listen, before we get up out of here, apparently Jay wanted to get started on the After Dark before we even finish this episode. You know what I'm saying? Except I think the part that he must be shooting right now, we obviously cannot include it on the show because we're still on YouTube. So this gives us a pretty good segue because as we, move into the next season, which by the way will be coming to you in about 2 weeks or 2 weeks and some days, in the After Dark version of the show, right? So S&M, let's start there because I wanted to talk to y'all real quickly about what is After Dark? What do you want it to be? What do you want to talk about? What can the people expect? So S&M, let's start with you. Like, we doing this After Dark thing or what?
So I am super excited about this because one of the things I like about the show, the BLC pod, is that we're constantly growing, being flexible and so forth, and identifying areas that we can kind of plug in, right? And so, and I think this particular episode, yes, pun intended. Yes, pun intended. And so I think after this particular episode, it kind of leans toward why we need to have these type of conversations when it comes to, after darks topics such as sexual fantasies or even turn-ons, turn-offs, and so forth, especially for those who are in relationships. And even if and that's whether if you're married, not married. It also talks about the different relationship styles, regardless if you're polyamorous or you're swingers or whatever the case may be. And so I think there's a space for that in our community to actually really open up and have these conversations because we spend so much time acting like sex is so taboo, but everybody doing it. But we act like it's taboo, And so let's stop acting like it's taboo. Let's stop. And when I say acting like it's taboo, I don't mean the raunchy bullshit that we see on TV and the performance and media and so forth. I mean, like actually having that conversation so that we could continue to understand and unpack the relationship drama and divide that we're currently experiencing. Because part of that is because we're not talking about sex in the manner that we need to talk about sex. There's a lot of unfulfilled people out there. There's a lot of people who don't recognize that they have options out there. And so what better place? What better group of people than the VLC pod to open this topic up? So let's go ahead and get it crack-a-lacking after dark.
Okay. Oh, wow. SNL, I don't think I've seen this version of you just talking about the After Dark. She just gave y'all a little tasty taste if you're playing it. Well, no, not pause. But go ahead, Kim.
Yes.
Oh, we're doing today. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
I'm excited.
Not to get your sex face on. Ooh, look at it.
That's what's happening.
I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think this is some of the outsourced time that we don't get to bring to the pod. So now we're going to bring so that we get to know you guys a little bit better too, hopefully through comments and things like that, but that you get to know us as well, because there's the side of the pod that I was told I'm a little square on the pod sometimes, but I bring but I'm bringing, the part that makes sense for the conversation there, but this conversation, I don't know, I don't even want to be on the side of spicy. It's just like real, like let's get to the real. So I'm excited. Good.
Hey, listen, we haven't set up the whole Patreon thing yet, but just these intros right now makes me want to low-key give up $10 a month to tap in, right? So for real, and I actually talked to y'all, so I actually don't even have to pay. But anyway, that's not the point. Because I support Black businesses. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta support Black businesses. People use that for everything. Hey, I'm on OnlyFans. You gotta support Black businesses. I don't know, listen, as a cunning linguist, I look forward to trying to find the words to have the conversations about topics that I think really resonate deeply into our audience. I feel like the friction that we sometimes have in a very playful manner allows the conversation to reach a climax or an apex just when we're talking about normal things, right? So the idea that we can put our minds, our beings, our thoughts, and move our mouths in ways to get people to think about sex and how it affects us in relationships, I think is the challenge that we're going to have. Obviously, being on YouTube, we want to make sure we watch our language, which is why we're teasing the whole Patreon thing, because we really want to have, all jokes aside, we really want to have a really fun, thoughtful, intellectual conversation about sex. You know, it's one thing for us to get up here and talk about, oh yeah, so I did this and when I did that. That's not what this is, right? It is going to be fun. It's going to be wordplay, but it's really about getting to the heart of whatever the issue is and really maybe setting the tone for how we can have this conversation publicly without it being profane.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? I think that's going to be our challenge, but I think for me, that's going to be the fun. I think I see us laughing a lot. And I see people learning a lot or being open to the conversation. So I'm super, super excited. This will be the 4th season of the BLC pod. And yes, we've done something differently every season. But I think with the group that we have, the energy that we have, and the topics that we'll be talking about, I can see how we all can get behind it. And certainly I can see how. Never mind. So that's all I got. I think S&M did a great job of really breaking it down. And I loved how Kim fit in the middle of that. And so, you know, as a guy, sometimes being in the company of 2 women by himself is something I'm kind of used to anyway. But, you know, light work is what they say. Any final thoughts before we get up? I was talking about conversationally, y'all. Like, I mean, we're not doing the after dark yet, y'all.
Is that what it was? Okay.
We are not giving y'all permission to go in the gutter yet. Okay. And
we're not going to the gutter. It's like,
matter of fact, we got to do a different disclaimer for this season coming up. You know what I'm saying? So listen, any final thoughts aside from telling people to like, subscribe, and follow? Because I know I was going to forget to do that. But any final thoughts before we get up out of here, man? This is another great off-season conversation. Pew, 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 pew. Any final thoughts, y'all?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'm just going to reiterate, like, follow, subscribe, hit the notifications, and make sure that you tune in for the next season. We understand that for some folks with them delicate ears, this may not be the topic for you, but maybe it is the topic for you. Maybe it's exactly the conversations that you need to be tuning into and participating in, because it's about time we, who was it that said, let's talk about sex, baby?
That would
bring that salt and pepper back. Let's bring that salt and pepper back.
All the good thing. Maybe we can license it. Like that could be like the intro of the show. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe we can redo it as us.
Yeah, we can do we can take pieces of it.
Want to try it?
As long as I can be Spinderella, maybe, because I'm tone deaf. I'll admit it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's cool. No,
that sounds sexy.
Cool. Hey, listen.
Exactly. I gotta be Spinderella. I gotta be the rapper on the whole thing at all. I gotta be rapping about, you know. But anyways, go ahead. But yeah, so I'm excited.
Super excited. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Super excited. So yes, we're super excited. We'll see y'all in a couple of weeks. Stay tuned for that. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. And Jay, I'm mad you got started without us. Pause. Anywho's, well, I'll see you next time. Peace.